Now, of course, Shane, the big game here, Super Bowl. Like I said, we're recording this, so I don't really want to preview a game that once people start listening to this, they'll have already heard. But it's such a unique Super Bowl for many reasons. But a big one for us, being an SEC focused show, is just the fact that it's Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford, two of the best SEC quarterbacks in recent history, and a ton of players on both sides of the team, just loaded with SEC talent. And I thought it would be fun to just ask you, Shane. And you can answer Joe Burrow, you can answer Matthew Stafford, but and you don't have to necessarily. I'm not asking you to do a rankings list or anything, but it is the off season, and that's one of the things I love about college football is just sitting back and talking about it and debating it. And I'm just curious to know, Shane, where do these two rank among some of your favorite SEC quarterbacks to ever play the game that you and I have sat back and watched, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Well, obviously, are you talking about why they're in the pros or why they were in college?
No, I'm just talking straight in the SEC in college football. And, I'll give you an example. The one that comes to my mind that I just could never get enough of, and I got to be honest, I didn't really even buy into this program being in the SEC when it first happened. But once I saw Johnny Manziel play football, I could not get enough of the Texas A&M Aggies. And hell, like I said, I'm from Tennessee. I had no connection to Texas A&M. But as soon as I just saw that magician back there, man, I could not get enough of Texas A&M football when Johnny Manziel was there. And I know it didn't work out for him in the NFL, but man, anytime if there's a classic game on that's an old Aggie game that's got Johnny Manziel all the time, I'm pulling up his highlights on YouTube just to watch. Just what a damn magician he was back there in the pocket. I'm just curious to know, some of the favorite quarterbacks that you've got to watch SEC.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Just some of them. Well, I'll tell you, these guys, both of them are up the list. But I would say more Joe, just because of the story of LSU and, I don't know, just nobody picked him. You know what I'm saying? He goes down there and he just finds his way onto the field and puts together one of the most beautiful offensive seasons I've ever seen in my life. So I would say Joe Burrows is up there. Now, Stafford, on the other hand, Tennessee was kicking their ass back in the day. So, I wasn't too impressed. But, no, I'm just kidding. He had some great games. And I love his story more in the pros. Yeah. Just the fact, he's up there at Detroit trying his best. Everybody tries to be. I like that Barry Sanders, finally gets out. And what does he do? He's competing for a Super Bowl. So I think I'm more impressed with Matt as a professional player than I was a college player. Not taking anything away from what he did at the collegiate level, but If you're talking about all-time quarterbacks, well, obviously, Mike, I am a Tennessee homer, and I can't go without mentioning Peyton Manning. Mm-hmm. Peyton Manning was, but see, I'm old school too, man. I was a huge Heath Schuler fan growing up, so I had the jersey. I wanted to beat Heath Schuler growing up. Then he became a bust in the NFL. So I don't know. When I'm thinking about all-time quarterbacks, brother, I'm thinking of guys like Cam Newton. I'm thinking of guys like you said, Johnny Football. It just felt like these guys could actually and it felt at times Joe Burrow. That's what I love about these quarterbacks that I'm talking about. It felt like they could put the whole game on their arm and win it. You know what I'm saying? There was plenty of moments you're like counting some of these games out, and you're just like, how the hell did, like you said, Johnny Football get that off? Or how in the hell did Cam Newton stay on his feet? It's like right. There's just so many great athletes that have come through the SEC. But in my lifetime, The ones that I've been impressed with, I would say, are those guys. I know I'm probably leaving somebody off, and I'm probably going to get bashed online, but I would say those top five. I'd say Peyton, just off the top of my head, Cam, not in that order, but Peyton, Cam, Johnny. Who else did I mention there? Is that the only three? Is it a top three list?
Joe Burrow?
No, Joe Burrow. Okay, yeah, he's definitely on there. I will say Tim Tebow. Sorry.
That's another one.
That's an easy one. Yeah, Tim Tebow was another one that just I could not wait for his ass to get out of college. You know what I'm saying? As a Tennessee fan. But what he was able to do in some games, and like I said, just put the team on his back. Those guys, that's going to be my top five when I'm thinking quarterbacks. And I'm probably missing a few, but you got to remember, I mean, I was born 82, so I don't remember some of the older guys like some of you guys probably do. But in my lifetime, watching those games and just what they were able to do on the field, and just like I said, it wasn't so much that I was impressed, but I couldn't wait for them to graduate. It's the truth, man. I couldn't wait because I wasn't doing a podcast at the time, Mike. I was just solely a Tennessee ball fan, and if we didn't have one of those guys, I was pissed off. So I guess that's what I grew up to.
I remember Tebow, Shane, when when he was a freshman, they would bring him in for like short yardage, and he was like a rah guy. He was energy, and I basically thought he was a fullback. And when his sophomore season came around, I was like, well, this will be a disaster because you can't have a damn fullback as a quarterback. I mean, what the hell's he going to do? And then he puts together one of the most impressive seasons of all time. He was just perfect for that Urban Meyer system with his ability to run, his ability to throw, and all the athletes surrounding around. I mean, it's hard to rank anyone over Tim Tebow. Yeah. I think he should have won 2 Heisman trophies. I really do. I thought he got robbed his final year there. I know that Ingram had a hell of a SEC championship and an Iron Bowl that has legendary status down there. But Tim Tebow for me, right up there. And do you remember the first time that I don't know if you can even remember this, but probably the first time you heard about Matthew Stafford? I watched him play at Georgia. I think it was his true freshman season. I don't believe he was the starter. He came in as a backup, and this was when you were living in your apartment with a couple of our buddies there, and I tried to tell you guys about this damn guy and his arm. Do you remember what I said about Matthew Stafford?
No. You guys, that's probably 3 sheets in the wind, man.
You guys made fun of me for about a year and a half, but I said, this guy's the next John Elway, because I mean, that's what kind of cannon this guy had. And hey, I think that proved to be true. I mean, I don't know if there's a player with a more gifted arm than Matthew Stafford. Now, I know he certainly had a great college career, but never led him to that elusive national title that they just turned around and got. But he's a legend in his own right. But one guy that I always think about, and I don't know if he has any records or anything, but we honor him here on the show with the statue, the hefty lefty, Jared Lorenzen. I mean, he's right up there for me. I don't know, very, very few players were as fun, as entertaining as Jared Lorenzen. And I know it was on a lot of losing teams. And, he put up impressive stats, but, Kentucky was never that much of a threat until Mark Stoops got there. But I always loved watching the hefty lefty play.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, man. He gave all those fat guys hope, that, why can't I be quarterback, Then I asked my coach, and he's like, just block the guy in front of you. Okay. I'm sorry. No, I obviously very inspirational, man. Speaking with Kentucky, I remember the Tim Couch. I remember when it was Peyton and Tim going back and forth. That was supposed to be an epic game.
Yep.
He did great up there. So, yeah, there was – I mean, obviously, Mike, there's been so many great storylines come through the SEC, especially at quarter – Warfel. Even Chris Leak. I know I give him a hard time because of Tim Tebow. I think he should have been out there sooner. But, Chris Leak was a serviceable quarterback that won a lot of games for the Florida Gators, So let me ask you, though, because we're just hashing here. Not one of us has mentioned an Alabama quarterback. Is that fair? Is that fair that we've not mentioned one Alabama quarterback because of the product Nick Saban has put together for so many years? I mean, obviously he's always had a stacked team, but there have been some great players. Look what Mac did at New England this year. I mean, are we missing? Are we not giving them enough credit just because they're on loaded ball clubs?
Well, the thing with Nick Saban's program, it was always, they got elite players except a quarterback. I mean, it was always Greg McElroy, A.J. McCarron type. I'm thinking of who was the guy that they started when they had Derrick Henry. I can't think of his name. But, that was always the case until they got Jalen Hurts in there. And he was a phenomenon, and then it just went another level with Tebow. Or
Tua.
With Tua, it went to another level. And then I thought it would be a huge drop-off with Mac Jones. But, hell, he was arguably better than anything they've had. And now, of course, they've got the great Bryce Young, and it's just totally changed the narrative down there. So, I think by the time Bryce Young hangs him up at Alabama and goes on to the NFL, he'll certainly be in this discussion, just his incredible debut. Now, he's got to win at least one title, I think, given the reputation of some of the guys that came before him to reach that status. But I certainly, of those guys, I mean, I love Jalen Hurts and just his leadership and his toughness. But, I think you may have hit it there, Shane. I love the fact that Mac Jones signed on in the same class as Tua, and he waited his turn. He could have transferred out at any point. So many guys do these days. And he only got 1 year to start, and he made the most of it. And, one of the best individual seasons of all time there. So, of all those guys, I'd probably put Mac Jones first, just in my personal opinion, with Jalen Hurts right, just a smidge behind him. And I particularly love the fact that Jalen Hurts, when he lost his job to Tua, he didn't make a big scene of it. And it could have been such a distraction, but he was such a leader. And such a a team first guy that he didn't make it about himself when I think the vast majority of us probably would have and would have transferred out of that program for sure. You know what?
Oh, definitely, man, definitely. That's the thing. Some of these quarterbacks get lost. You know what I'm saying? You look back 20 years and you forget about Connor Shaw. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
somebody like
that's
that.
a perfect
You know what I'm saying?
I love watching him play.
But when you're talking Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, you don't think about it as if you were a South Carolina fan, their top five easily would have him in there. You know what I'm saying? If you talk to a Vandy, you got to put Cutler somewhere in there. You know what I'm saying? So there's been so many great quarterbacks come through our league and go on to play at the next level. This Super Bowl is a prime example. We got two of them playing against each other, but there's so many athletes in the NFL at quarterback, so I don't know, man. I just waiting for the next chapter. We're going to look back in 15 more years and we're going to say, well, damn, dude, what about Love? He's the best. Who knows what's going to happen, but I don't know. That's a loaded question, and where everybody on this podcast listening is going to have a different answer, and they're going to have a different story. But it's a story. You know what I'm saying? You may have went to a game with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And watched one, and then that guy may not even have started the following season, but that game that you were there, he did something impressive, and maybe it was your first game ever seeing a college football. I mean, we've all, like the Heath Schuler thing. a lot of people on this podcast probably don't know Heath Schuler as much as I do. Right. But the first game I ever seen as a Tennessee Vol fan was him running through the end zone. Man, I got the jersey the next day, and me and my brother were out there throwing football, and guess what? When we're playing, I'm Heath Schuler now, Right, he's stuck with Rocket Ishmael, but, or then when I got bigger, I had to switch to the fridge, but, it's like growing up, that quarterback meant more to me. Heath Schuler meant more to me than Peyton Manning does, and I love Peyton Manning, but that wasn't the quarterback I grew up. That's not the one that made me fall in love with this sport. So, I'm interested to hear what all the listeners think too, man. We post this pod tomorrow. If you got a story or a quarterback that, really meant a lot to you, I'd be interested and to tell us why. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you got a picture with them or something.
Mm-hmm. One guy we didn't reference, I can't get off here without mentioning him because one of my favorites, Shane, and this was when I first got into the media, and I put this out there as the dark horse to win the SEC. I got mocked relentlessly my first year at Fox Sports. Mississippi State, 2014. I was a huge believer in Dak Prescott, who, that's a Louisiana kid, got an offer from LSU to play tight end, yet he goes to Mississippi State, plays for Dan Mullen. He leaves that program as, I don't think there's any argument, the best player in that program history. And just how incredible he was and reached the heights of number one in the country. He was a Heisman contender. And then similar to Peyton Manning, could have went on to the NFL after his junior season, came back to one more year, senior season, become a better passer, became an even better passer than he was his junior season. And, of course, now he's one of the biggest stars in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. But, I think Mississippi State's been good for a long time. They got one of the longest bowl streaks in the SEC. But they didn't reach those new heights without Dak Prescott. And I think that's kind of the story maybe you're kind of referencing where, it's great to land the 5-star and all these guys get all these expectations and you can't wait to see him play. But I doubt even the biggest diehard Mississippi State fan said when they signed Dak Prescott that this will be our guy. You know what I mean? But you fall in love with them over the years after just, their gutty performances and beating LSU and Baton Rouge and winning the Egg Bowl and all the heights you get with these players. And, he's certainly one that sticks out in my mind as an all-time great at that quarterback position in the SEC.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Arkansas. They're on the swing. You know what I'm saying? And if they're competing for national championships in 2 or 3 years, you're going to look back at KJ Jefferson, a quarterback that didn't have the accolades all these other players had, and I don't know what his future is in the NFL, but as an Arkansas fan, you're going to look back to the guy that started this. That started this swing, and it's just I don't know. I think, like you said, it's a little bit of a loaded question because. One fun story, man, I got. I know I'm rambling, but James Banks, you remember him, right?
Oh yeah.
So, one time I was young. Okay, he had a little problem there with Tennessee, whatever. But he was at a party next door, and we were next door playing NCAA. And we're in and out. People are drinking and stuff like that. And he comes through there, and he says he's got next. So I won. And James comes over to play the game. And I said, he goes, who you want to beat? I said, I'm going to be Tennessee. I said, you can beat whoever you want. And he says, all right. He says, well, I'm going to grab a beer. I'll be back. Well, while he was gone, I changed my lineup and I put him at quarterback because he was still on the game, And I changed, his name's on there and everything. And I smoked him, and I kept. Boy, he got mad. But I said, man, you didn't expect to get beat by yourself today. Oh, man. I'm glad he didn't challenge me to a 40 or something like that because he would have smoked me. But video games, I got his ass.